Stephanie, welcome back to Changing Scripts. Some of you might be new because of the type of this video, so welcome for the first time. I am learning to read in Chinese slowly, but it's working. So today this is a different kind of video. This is a video where a language teaching materials maker. That's such a long title. Someone who's making materials for language learning has contacted somebody who wants to start making materials for language learning and asked me to review their stuff on my channel. And this is not a paid advertisement. Matt from Chinese Champions did send me a free example that I'd like to pass on to you as a 6,000 views award kind of thing. I don't know. This is my first time really doing something like this, but I'm really excited. So first of all, again, it's not a paid advertisement. It's just people making language materials, getting cooperating with each other and helping each other out to get interesting, relevant, and fun materials out into the world. Because let's face it, language learning is hard. And the more you can make it interesting and fun, the more you bypass all of the filters of, oh, I don't want to study today, which I'm experiencing myself right now. So, not from this, but from just my general materials of my own HSK flashcards that I've been torturing with you with over the past few gazillion videos. So let's focus on Chinese Champions. Let me see. I do have an outline because I do tend to wander when I talk, so I've got an outline. So first of all, how did we find each other? Matt, I found Matt's channel because I was looking at making, not just having a vocabulary section within Anki, which is the online flashcard system that I was using at the time. I was finding it very time consuming, so I was thinking of switching to physical flashcards. And so I was playing with the idea, thanks to Gabe Weiner's Fluent Forever book, of switching to a Leitner box. And I had to look at my notes because I always say that wrong, because there's a Lichter scale within research, and then there's a Leitner box. So I kind of confused the two. Leitner box, which is basically doing your own time-space repetition with physical flashcards or note cards or whatever you want to call them. So that's how I found his channel to begin with. And I found his video, sorry, I'm going to refer to my notes here. Leitner box. Oh, he has advanced tips and tricks too. Actually, I haven't watched that one yet because I haven't set up my box yet because I pushed through with the digital time-space repetition a lot, and now, as I just showed you, I've switched back to paper flashcards. So I'm going to start my first Leitner box. So he had the most clear and concise video on how to make it. And that's what I'm going to be using this week to start my own, because now I have 150 flashcards and it's time not to review them all every day, because that is a recipe for disaster and lack of review. So that's how I found Matt and his channel on YouTube, Language Card Games, which he's using to explain a lot of things about this product that I'm talking about today. So let's talk about the product, shall we? Chinese Champions is the name of it, and again, Matt Boyle is the creator, and holy cow, he is light years ahead of where I've got ideas about digital tools to help language learners learn specific parts of both English and Chinese. And he's got an entire product that is just gorgeous. Oh my God, we need to talk about packaging first. I made a note to talk about packaging because he's obviously spent a ton of time refining this product. So here's the package. I've opened it up a little because it's so secure that my weak self had a little hard time opening it. That's how secure it is. So that's a good thing. So then you open it up and then you have, I'm not entirely sure what these are yet. I think these might be the dice. But I don't want to open it up because I want to give it to one of you. I want to give this entire package to one of you. So I'm not going to open that. I'll leave that for you. But then he has the cards themselves and lamination type packages that you can put each card in so that they don't wear out. However, I don't know how these things would wear out because let me show you one of them. They're crazy. The lamination on them already. It's a very nice, you can see the name Chinese Champions there, but they're incredibly nice and thick, but not so thick that you'd feel like you couldn't play with them. Does that make sense? Because if they're so hard and rigid, then you feel like you can't like boom and like play the game properly in the competitive fun way that you're probably going to end up doing. So anyway, so there's the back side and here's the front side. So he's got a picture, super important, right? And then he's got the Hansa characters and the pinyin. I hope that focuses properly for you. And then he's got the English and, oh, it looks like he has part of a decomposition thing below it too. And then I need my glasses again. For seed, Zhongzi, every time you call an earth card, you may add 1 point to the seed. So then it has the information about what to do within the game itself. Yeah, so I love that he's got the Chinese stuff on one side and the English on the other, so you can kind of cover it up if you really want to do like whatever your own thing without seeing the English on it. And I love that there's a visual and that the visual is the biggest part of the card. Can I say that again? That is the biggest thing that I got from Gabe Weiner's Fluent Forever, is that the visual needs to intercept your first language, so that you don't think from the language you're learning to your first language. You think from the visual, which is a really powerful part of your brain, to the language you're learning. And that really, really apparently helps with fluency later on. Yeah, there's some videos I've done about how that's actually intercepted my daily life, but it's not about me in this video. It's about these cards. So there's that. I picked seed because my one disclaimer is, my two disclaimers. One, I'm not really a game person per se. I do like, in some previous videos I showed you like tracing games in a mobile app, and I also kind of like the gamification that Duolingo does, although not so much with the Chinese version. So there's those kinds of games which I like a little bit, but they don't really sustain me for a long time. And I've never been a card game person. So that's disclaimer one. Two, my language level is super low. So, and I told Matt that before I decided to do this video, and he said, that's okay, whatever you like or dislike about it, put it in the video. So here you go. So I actually had plans to do like a video of a bunch of us using these cards and doing the games and kind of showing us playing the games. But my language level is so far below this deck that I have. So I want to pass it on to you guys as a 6,000 view celebration. So if I'm not sure what language level this is. This is an example of something at HSK1. I'm kind of bridging HSK1, HSK2 right now in the Chinese language. So this is something I can understand in its decomposed state. I can understand zhong, and I can understand zi, and that's pretty cool that those two things together make seed. That makes sense to me. It's not a word I know, but it's something that makes sense when you decompose it. So some of the other, just to give you an idea of the language level that we're talking about for these games. So Beacon is another one. And Wild Tiger is another one. And you can see there's a gaming component in this. So there is that. So the packaging is amazing. The layout is fantastic. I can't think of how the layout could be better, to be quite honest with you. Oh, yeah. If you could have an audio button. But you don't need an audio button, because what Matt has done is on his YouTube channel, he actually has pronunciation. Yeah, that was a slip. He has pronunciation videos where he goes through card by card and has, I'm assuming, a native speaker of Chinese, although you don't need to have a native speaker. Matt, I really wish you had done the pronunciation yourself. My own high horse of language teachers do not need to be native speakers, but that's a whole other video, whatever. Anyway, not the point. However, he literally goes through card by card and has somebody pronounce each thing. So you don't need the button. Whoops. You don't need the button on the card. However, that's my only request. That's the only thing more I really could have thought that could have been there. But honestly, I don't think that technology really exists yet anyway. So the cards themselves physically are perfect as far as I'm concerned. And I am a picky language learner. Seriously. He also has two cards, one with how to play and the instructions step by step, and one with the different game terms. I should put my finger on that side, like that. He also has a number of videos explaining from beginner until advanced different ways that you can use the cards in that kind of fun competitive way, and how to use them with other people to at first get the vocabulary in your head, and then eventually solidify it and play games with it to make sure it goes from that short-term knowing to that long-term knowing memory, because that's where you want to go. So a couple of things that I really want to go over is the language level. I think I've talked about that. I'm not sure where above HSK2 this falls, because those are the two that I'm familiar with right now. So so there's that. So it's definitely higher than those two, and it is definitely game-specific vocabulary. I showed you some that were more than that, but there's also some words in here that, and this is one of my questions to Matt, is where do you see, hi Matt, where do you see people using this vocabulary outside the game? If anywhere. It doesn't need to exist outside of the game. Like Wizard's Bones. Okay. I can see that being really fun to know within gaming, not just within this, but in other games, if they were to use this kind of Chinese vocabulary in, let's say, some online games later on, that would probably be very useful. This is not an area I know a lot about, which is why it's a question, not a critique. This could be incredibly useful, and I'm guessing it is, in gaming in general, in the Chinese language, which, what a fantastic way to bridge yourself, or not bridge yourself, but to scaffold yourself into taking these paper cards and getting into online games later on in the Chinese language. Pretty cool. So I'm assuming it goes for that, but it goes up, it leads up to that. Like a bubble gun and magic wave, those kinds of things. So I'm assuming that Matt is strong in gaming and that he has backtracked from more complicated gaming that just uses these words, assuming that you know them, and he's backtracked, and this is the scaffolding to get there. But I'm not entirely sure if that's true. So Matt, that is my first question for you. My second question is, well, I guess the language level. What language level is this really in? If it could be compared to an HSK scheme, where is that? The third question I have is, I love the supplemental materials that he has for this. If you're going to do paper materials for language learning in Chinese, especially with the tones, you really need to have supplementary materials, and he's done that in spades. Not just to show you the game, but to do those pronunciation videos. I think they're fantastic. Fantastic. And it's on YouTube, so it's free. What other supplementary materials, Matt, do you plan to make for these cards or future cards that are coming out soon? Because I think that complement of the videos and the paper cards is just a brilliant, brilliant idea. Personally speaking, I want to make mobile apps in the future. So, but I think there still might be videos attached to that, and this is really giving me some ideas on how to connect those two creatures. So he's also inspired me in my mobile app making, because I was thinking primarily just on a mobile app, but bridging and connecting different kinds of ways to help people learn the language, I think is a brilliant, really, really brilliant way to help people use that vocabulary and use those tools in the most ways that they can. And that's just a really, really amazing thing. So he's got, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He has 35 videos in all, and I would say maybe 8 or 10 of them currently are on how to use the game and those pronunciation videos and things like that. So, and that's quite enough to get you started, because let's face it, it does take time to get the vocabulary down and to get the pronunciation down and to get the games down. And once you know a game, you want to play it for a while, right? But he has different versions of the game, and I believe there's a different version coming out very soon, but I'll leave him to explain that in his videos. So I'm going to leave links in the in the video notes below with his channel, and you can access all of that information there and take a look at the cards themselves. Now, how do you get this copy of it? Well, okay, so here's the deal. I currently live in Shanghai, China, and if you live in China, the first person who leaves no, let's make this more fun. Share a story of learning Chinese. Share a success story. There's so many failure stories, right? It's really, really difficult to use the language. I'm focused on reading the language and specifically reading newspapers, but that doesn't have to be your goal. But share like a mini success story. Like last week, I could read half of a sentence in Chinese without any help, just reading the Hanzi characters. I consider that a success, considering I'm still HSK1 low, just starting HSK2. That was pretty exciting. So something like that, like what was a success story in the Chinese language that you've had recently? And yes, for this contest, you do need to be learning Chinese because let's face it, this game is for learning Chinese. So it'd be kind of silly if you were learning another language and that happened. So if you're in China, I can mail it to you immediately. So we'll give it a time frame. So we'll say by February 1st, I will pick from the stories below and I will mail it out if you're in China. If you're outside of China, I'll have to wait until March when I'm outside the country because it's a little more complicated to mail things internationally. And I'm going to a place in March where it is a lot easier. So I'll mail it to you then, but you're still eligible. I will mail this anywhere in the world that you receive mail, but you have to leave a success story, a small success story, not a gigantic thing. It doesn't need to be test-based, just something you were able to do, whether it was a spoken thing, if that's your focus, a reading thing, which is my focus, a writing thing, if that's your focus. I don't really care. It could be a combination, because let's face it, communication exists on multiple levels. So leave your quick story below, and on February 1st, I will pick from those, and I will mail you out, if you're in China immediately, this lovely, lovely version of Matt's game of Chinese Champions. And if you're outside of China, I'll mail it out to you in March. Yay! So, happy 6,000 views to me, myself, and I, and happy games to you. And thank you again to Matt for this wonderful opportunity. I'm super inspired to start working on my own language learning materials, and I'm really excited to see what the next round of cards that he's going to have come out will look like. So thank you to everybody. And again, this is not a paid advertisement. This is done as a courtesy from Language Materials Maker to future Language Materials Maker. If you are interested in me doing a video like this for your materials, one, because this is free, I have to actually like the materials, and two, I don't know, that's pretty much it. I have to be excited about the materials to do this. I would never do this for materials that I don't believe in. That's not really what I'm doing on this channel. I'm trying to share things that help people and help myself learn languages in different forms. So if this is of interest to you and you'd like it in video format, then feel free to contact me. All my social media stuff should be below in the show notes as well. Thank you so much and happy language learning. 再见.